there's this term we hear over and over again, Altmanesque. To me, Altmanesque means subversion of all expected modes in narrative storytelling, in genre, in filmmaking style, in performance. When you look at the way that Altman made movies, they look like they're going to be one thing. And then you arrive at the film and they're somehow more curious, more roving, more experimental, less linear, less dynamically structured the way that most Hollywood productions are.
That's more than 25 words, and it's bullshit.
And so Altmanesque is sort of the undoing of everything we expect from a Hollywood movie. I'm Sean Fennessey, an editor, producer, and the host of the Big Picture podcast, a contemporary movie discussion show. The first Robert Altman film I saw was The Player, as a movie-obsessed and awards-curious young person, and it was an insider's inside look at Hollywood and the way that movies were made, and so it was a portal into a world that I was fascinated by, and the dark cynicism of the town rising to the surface.
Hi, Bert. Griffin Mill.
Good to see you. How you doing?
Griffin, nice to see you. Hi, Charles. How are you?
Bye-bye. Asshole.
The usage of real-life Hollywood figures in the telling of the story is intoxicating for people who are interested in the world of movies.
Here it is. The Graduate, Part 2.
Oh, good.
Now listen.
You can see it's from someone who has lived through difficult periods working in the space. It caught my eye as a young cynic, and I got hooked on his movies and went back and explored everything that came before it.
Hot you may be a pain in the ass, but you're a damn good nurse.
Altman is often situated deep in the new Hollywood movement, which was a generation of filmmakers who came in at a very vulnerable time in Hollywood and upended the expectations of certain kinds of movies that were being made. But unlike, say, Dennis Hopper or Bob Rafelson or even Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese, Robert Altman was older. He had a different life path. He had a different trajectory than a lot of these figures. I see him more situated with people like Sam Peckinpah and John Frankenheimer, men who worked on episodic series television and over time were ultimately given the chance to make feature films. Robert Altman was one of the most dependable directors for television in Hollywood. He directed on shows like Combat and Bonanza and Route 66. And while he quickly became skilled at working on the 1 hour or 30-minute series on television, he also quickly became deeply frustrated by the dogmatic approach that was needed to execute on those shows on a day-to-day basis. And so that informed the way that he would shift our expectations of movie making.
We're gonna send a man to the moon.
You're kidding.
Hey, man.
One man all the way. It's called Pilgrim.
After more than 10 years of directing series television, Altman got the chance to make a studio movie called Countdown, an astronaut drama starring James Caan and Robert Duvall. And he was ultimately fired off of that movie. And the reason that he was fired by Jack Warner himself was because Altman was attempting one of his many innovations as a filmmaker, which was to use overlapping dialogue, which Warner considered confusing and frankly unprofessional.
You hold a naval commission.
I also happen to have a medical degree.
Excuse me, Dr. Scarborough. Mr. Nogody called from
I haven't
Washington.
got time
He
to
would like
get
to
these
speak
down to Dr. Herman right away.
But he said it was very important.
I'll get back to him later.
Altman was very forthright about the fact that he did not invent that style. He always gave all the credit to Howard Hawks and the fast-talking characters in his films.
You gotta help me out just as much. Get out of here, Duffy. I'm busy. Now look, buddy.
So Altman just kind of lifted that style and then applied the advanced technology in terms of miking individual actors and then having separate outputs for all of them.
Oh, I should be the one to fly it, damn it. Why didn't you tell him?
The reasoning behind the demand.
Oh, that's easy. The Watusis, the Eskimos, and the Moroccans will think I'm up there building a cobalt bomb.
Altman wanted to use overlapping dialogue because he felt like the naturalism, the way that people actually spoke, aided in the drama of the story, not the traditional you talk, I talk approach to dialogue in Hollywood films.
I know the machine, I know the mission, I know my skills, I know the bird.
It's very minor if you look at it in Countdown Now relative to where his films would go, but the fact that he got fired indicates just what a transgression that was in terms of the work that he was trying to do at that time.
Well, you suppose that you fall on your back and you can't get up because the biopack holds you down like a flipped turtle.
Cut it.
So after being fired off of Countdown, he makes a small independent film, but off of the production of that film, he gets a job. He's sort of the 25th or 26th pick for a film called MASH, which is an adaptation of a novel set during the Korean War with doctors. And that movie is being made concurrently to a movie called Patton, And so 20th Century Fox is producing both of these war movies at the same time, and MASH is being ignored, thankfully for Robert Altman, because he is getting away with murder.
Goddamn army.
He makes an army comedy that is raunchy, bloody, outrageous, ridiculous, absurdist, and fourth wall breaking. And he's able to do it because he shoots quickly and he comes in under budget. And while Patton goes on to be a successful film, MASH ends up becoming the third most successful film of 1970. And it essentially sets the course for him forever.
This isn't a hospital! It's an insane asylum!
It's a film that launches a number of stars and also cements a number of actors into his company. And while it is not exactly the tone that he would apply to most of his other work going forward, it is an example of him pushing the envelope at a very early stage and figuring out just how far he can push and how much farther the audience will follow him.
What kind of team is it?
MASH was nominated for multiple Academy Awards, including Best Director for Altman. And from there, he springboards into a kind of blank check period where he gets to make a lot of different kinds of movies. One of the great golden periods in American film careers. It's a long line of incredible work that he does in that period of time, all in different genres, all using that same notion of subversion.
You get your hair cut. You don't belong in Nashville.
Perhaps the most notable example of this is The Long Goodbye, which is an adaptation of a Raymond Chandler story, but it's not a Humphrey Bogart movie. Elliot Gould plays the detective, Philip Marlowe, in the movie, and while the movie does have a detective story, it's really more of a laconic, active satire of detective movies, and also an interesting look into the end of a certain period in Los Angeles.
They're not even there. It's okay with me.
Post-60s, post-hippie, and really what happens is angst and existential despair. And so you plunge Philip Marlowe into this world and you get a very unusual stew in one of the best movies of the 1970s.
The hell, nobody cares.
Yeah. Nobody cares but me.
And if you can get on that wavelength, which is very particular, you will probably become hooked on his movies. Altman, he feels very comfortable with the idea of making genre movies. He makes them over and over and over again.
Did you say you come up here from Bearpaw to see me?
All that time working on series television, obviously he used those genres as a platform to figure out how to tell certain kinds of stories, and so he learned to understand archetype and expectation around storytelling.
You turned down Harris and Shaughnessy. You know who they are?
Of course I know who they are.
Well, you just better hope they come back.
But that doesn't mean that you have to have the same three-act structure and the same rising action and climax and moment of doubt for all of his protagonists.
I don't care how old you are, right in the chopper.
Come on, be nice, will you?
Also, most of the time he used screenplays as what he called dioramas. Working in series television, there's hardly any movement away from the screenplay, in part because of the tight production schedules. But on a feature, he was very interested in actors finding character and story finding itself. And then the other thing that he does is he lets his camera sort of float. It's a sort of observational, almost surveillance-like look into his characters and his performers. And inside of that roving camera, his signature move is the slow zoom. And you could find him in intimate settings with characters in unlikely moments, the camera very slowly creeping into the face of one character and then another, clocking expressions, clocking reactions, and helping us psychologize these figures just with the use of his camera.
I'll cash my shoe in too. You give me something for that?
My favorite Altman film is California Split, which was released in 1974. It was written by the screenwriter Joseph Walsh, who was a big-time gambler. And Altman himself was also well known for betting on sports and betting on the ponies and playing in casinos. And this is arguably the greatest movie ever made about gambling.
You fellas here to drink or play?
Well, my partner here is the player, and I guess I'm the drinker.
Huey?
He calls.
Player.
Next up.
Elliot Gould and George Siegel play two men in their 30s who share a common bond in gambling, and they effectively just get into trouble for 100 minutes. That's the whole movie, is they keep escalating the problem that they are in and becoming increasingly excited by the high of gambling. So it's really good about showing the high of winning, the low of losing.
It bounced out at 22!
And the chaotic medium, the middle of gambling. I myself am a gambler, and it is the movie that has come the closest to representing that feeling.
That's all.
26! 26!
There are certainly things that recur in all of Altman's movies. He's obviously very interested in the outsider. Even when he's telling stories of people who were in power, it's usually people who have lapsed power.
I am America. I am a winner who lost every battle up to and including the war. I am not the American nightmare. I am the American dream, period.
He has a real skepticism about the way that systems work, and he's also someone who clearly shares a common bond with people who are on the periphery or think a little bit differently in all of his stories. If you look at the number of films that focus on women that he made, it's unusual given some of his contemporaries. These are just stories that most male filmmakers were not telling.
You're gonna race me.
What are you talking about?
You're gonna race me.
Watch out!
You're gonna race me. Or you're gonna have me erased.
And whenever Altman would make what you describe as a woman's picture, there's a lot of Bergman in those movies. A movie like Three Women is so deeply indebted to persona.
You know what? What? You're the most perfect person I ever met.
And you can see that the dreamlike state that Bergman sometimes generates is clearly very interesting to Altman because he knows that he cannot properly access a woman's experience or mentality, but he can properly access the relationships he has to female performers and let them run with the framework that he's able to create. Even in some of his quote-unquote male films, like McCabe and Mrs. Miller, Julie Christie's character, the Madam, is arguably the most powerful and most clear-eyed person in the whole film.
No, I haven't got a lot of time to sit around and talk to a man who's too dumb to see a good proposition when it's put to him. Do we make a deal or don't we?
And likewise for Nashville, I think of the empathy that he has for Lily Tomlin's character in that movie as some of the best stuff in that film.
Can't you just call him or something? Tell him you're hung up?
No, I can't.
Can you just stay another hour?
No.
There are a handful of major stars who recur in Altman's films. Elliot Gould and Shelley Duvall are probably the two that most people will think of initially, but there are also Burt Remsen, Paul Dooley, Renee Aubernajois, Lily Tomlin that you'll see over and over again.
Why would they think that I'd kill my own sister's husband?
And I think in part that's because Altman has a very specific way of working. He needs actors who can improvise, who are comfortable with an ever-changing set. Warren Beatty famously did not enjoy his experience making McCabe and Mrs. Miller with Altman, in part because, well, Warren Beatty was a control freak and his lack of control on that set seemed to bother him. And also he was an actor who came up in the 1950s and 60s and was used to using that blueprint instead of that diagram approach that Altman pursues. The same is true for behind the scenes. You know, he had a large group of people who supported these unusual journeys in movie making over time. Chief among them, Tommy Thompson, who was his longtime AD, worked on over 30 films with Altman. Robert Eggenweiler produced over 10 of Altman's films over time. And then even people like Joan Tewksbury, the screenwriter who started out working as a location scout and assistant for Altman early in his career and went on to become screenwriter of films like Nashville. Tewksbury returned over and over again. She makes a very amusing cameo in The Player early on in the film during a pitch sequence. And you can feel the metatextual nature of Joan Tewksbury pitching a screenplay to an executive in a Robert Altman film 20 years after the masterpiece that they worked on together.
I like Goldie. I like Goldie.
Okay,
Great,
Goldie
we have a
goes to
relationship
Africa.
and that would be great.
Goes
Goldie
to
goes to Africa.
Goldie
goes to
Africa.
Africa.
She becomes
She gets
worshipped.
She's found by this tribe.
Small people.
So they returned over and over again to working with him, I think in part because Altman was not an autocrat. He was not a director who stamped his feet and demanded his vision be executed just so. He was really more of a party host, someone who was trying to create an experience that you would not forget and that could also be captured and portrayed on screen.
Movies are art, now more than ever.
Altman hits a speed bump in his career in the late 70s, and he makes a number of films that don't really connect with audiences, among them A Perfect Couple and Quintet, and the quote-unquote disaster of Popeye. And in the aftermath of those productions, he starts directing plays on stage, and then he begins directing adaptations of plays for television and film.
There's not a movie within 100 miles that can match the story I'm gonna tell. I'm gonna finish this story, okay?
Eddie?
You wanna hear the rest of the story, don't you? Marty? Huh? Sure. Yeah, okay, good.
He clearly learns something new about what interests him about movie making. He becomes a little bit more interested in the artifice of the play and the artifice of performance inside the play, and then uses that as he moves into the 90s and 2000s when he makes his quote-unquote comeback. And he injects those movies with this sort of fantastical, almost hyper-real quality.
And the relentlessly artistic Regina Crumb from L. Hey. Hey.
Films about performance that are using unique styles of performance to help us better understand that, for lack of a better phrase, all of life is a show. You might say there are significantly more deep cuts in Altman's career than there are classics, which is saying something since he has quite a few classics. One that I've come to love is Buffalo Bill and the Indians, a movie that I did not understand the first couple of times that I saw it, and I understand a lot better now that I know that Altman really wanted to adapt E.L. Doctorow's Ragtime and never got the chance to do that. And when you think about that novel and the collision of real-life American figures with invented characters, Buffalo Bill is very much in the same vein. It's a film that stars Paul Newman as Buffalo Bill Cody, the famed Western figure who is more showman than historic legend of the West.
No ordinary man could realize what tremendous profits could be made by telling the pack of lies in front of witnesses like it was the truth.
And the entire film takes place essentially in this created proscenium in a circus space.
You're only 2 minutes. I heard you the first time.
And is poking little holes in the American myth constantly.
You wanted to show the truth to the people. Why can't you accept that just once?
Because I got a better sense of history than that.
My favorite deep cut that isn't a movie is Tanner 88, which is a series that he created for HBO with the political cartoonist Gary Trudeau, in which Altman and Trudeau invented a political candidate named Jack Tanner, who was played by longtime Altman troop member Michael Murphy, and he literally put this fictional presidential candidate into the middle of a race in 1988.
Well, I guess Mr. Hart has been busier than I have, but...
In experiences where he would meet real-life politicians, real-life lobbyists, real-life figures in the world of DC.
Hey, Jack, how you doing?
You're killing them.
Oh, you're really closing the gap, right?
Well, I'm hanging on by my fingernails.
You're doing a great job. No, that's
well, thanks very
fantastic.
much.
It's one of the most influential pieces of television, I think, in the second half of the 20th century, in part because when you look at the way that shows like Larry Sanders or even the recent The Studio blend the real with the fake and force us to confront what really is reality in our lives, plus a dollop of Gary Trudeau humor on top of it, it's just an incredibly incisive look at American politics.
We are the envy of this world. Why? Because throughout our history, we have always maintained that we could do better. We've insisted that we could do better. We've always been willing to reinvent ourselves for the common good.
Altman is someone that I think of as both a ladder and a bridge. He's a ladder in that he climbed the hierarchical system of Hollywood over time, and he walked across it almost like a bridge because he was able to string together hits and also withstand the struggles of failures at the box office or critically and always bounce back time after time. And also, there is a general air of mischief and anarchy that is both missing from American cinema and is something that resonates in our political and social culture right now.
Who are you?
I'm Dr. Jekyll, actually. This is my friend, Mr. Hyde.
There is a true oddball quality to so many of the characters in his movies who do not want to live up to the expectations that have been set for them.
You gainfully employed, Marlo?
We live in a time when it feels like a lot of people are being left behind in an effort to become more efficient in the world, and Altman was interested in the inefficiencies of life.
I ain't done.
Oh, I know.
I ain't done.
And in the unusual approach to being alive. And so his movies click for me more now than they ever have.
In the sweet